the oil field can sometimes hide some sins in that you can make enough money. And this is one thing I think we've exited this era of oil field where there was a time where you could make enough money. I don't know where it's all going, but I'm making tons of it, right? And people are, I might be stealing some of your stuff, and you might be spending more money over here than you should, but you're just making so much, it doesn't matter. And what I saw in my time here in Midland is it's to a point now where you got to know where you're making money, where you're losing money. And when you can do that and say, here's where I'm making money, here's where I'm losing money, I got to get rid of that. You run it like that, then you can take it to a bank, say, look, I'm running my business. Makes a banker feel great when he feels like you have a good grasp on your business. It's not just a money bag that you're just reaching into when you need it. It's a well-organized machine, right? That's what makes a bank feel comfortable.
Okay, I am here with Mike, and I'm thinking about how to start this because we just had a conversation about how we were going to talk about conspiracy theories on this entire podcast.
I'm ready to blow this up. I'm ready. Are you ready to get started?
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to look at the camera, but I'm going to look at the camera now. We're going to blow this up.
Okay. All right. So,
not really. It's great to see you, Stefan.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm here with Mike. Mike, we have a particular story. He is a banker here.
That's correct. Lifelong banker.
And
fifth generation banker.
Fifth
generation banker.
Is it really a fifth generation?
Yes, it's fifth generation. So my hold on, let me see here. So here's my great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, okay, came from Ireland at the age of 15, right? In a boat, sailing across. Horse dies. They got to like crank the horse up and throw it overboard. I don't know. That's when it's in his memoirs. So that left an impression on a 15-year-old boy going to America and there's a dead horse on the boat that they're trying to figure out how do we get off the boat. That's neither here nor there, Stefan. But he ends up in America, okay? Goes to the panhandle of Texas, Wheeler County, right? That used to be about the only law up in the panhandle of Texas, where he became a cowboy. First Irish cowboy, right? Up there. Ended up getting a few cows, tried farming a little bit, so that was a terrible thing to do. Then he ended up getting in a partnership with some guys that said, hey, let's get a bank. So he got a partnership, started a bank, the partners took off. And so he had to figure out how to run a bank. And so he learned, became a career banker, and he was my great-great-grandfather and the first president of my first bank job, which was the First National Bank of Amherst, Texas.
Amherst, Texas. So your great-great-grandfather, how did you know all these stories? Like,
Well, first off, like I say, I worked in the bank he started. And he had memoirs. He wrote memoirs, which was nice. Gave me some insight. He didn't write in the memoirs that he bit a guy's finger off once, but he bit a guy's finger off once in the bank.
In the bank.
In the bank. It was a banking argument, I suppose. I don't know the details, but I'm pretty sure, and you might have just heard it here first, he bit a dude's finger off once. My great Irish cowboy banker grandfather.
I have so many questions about like
that's not all the details I have on the finger biting incident, but go ahead, follow up.
I have so many questions about how you would be there with a customer and the action is to bite a guy's finger off.
I'll tell you what, Stefan, I've been a banker for about 20 years. Lots of opportunities. I've had to hold back on that very thing. Like son of a.
Yeah, is that
I'm just kidding.
They put their hand out?
I bet it was probably like he was trying to put a finger in the eye, like you're grappling.
Okay.
Make your payment. No, bad word. My daughter's here. No, bad word. And then it's on, right? And he's going for the eye, right? We've already 30 style duked it because it was the 30s. It was before the 30s, but we've already duked it. We're grappling, goes for the eye, pull the finger down, bite. That's how I imagine. Now that's speculation, how it got to biting a finger off. I don't think it started there. It didn't start there. Is that what our podcast is about?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Finger biting?
We will go anywhere. Finger biting.
Off.
I just
bit it off.
Oh, he said off. He put
not
that
just a bite, bit it off. That's intent. Live intentionally.
Yeah, he didn't pay his bill.
I imagine. I mean, that's really what upsets a banker. I mean, I'm trying to think, how did he get there? I bet you started there. Probably started by not paying.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good start to this podcast.
So he starts the First National Bank in Amherst, right? Amherst, Texas was this big old ranch. They're breaking up the ranch. It was called the Mashed O Ranch. I don't know. And they're breaking it up. And they're like, we need a bank because we're going to be selling off these parcels. We need a place to stow the money, all this. He didn't want to come to Amherst, but he said, okay, I'll be the first president. I'll send my son, my great grandfather, to Amherst. And then my grandfather fought in the Great World War II, then came back and worked at the bank in Amherst. Then my uncle, and then me. I came back, and it was in the family from the 1920s all the way to 2014.
That's amazing, actually. And then, so what drew you to, like, I mean, I'll go, of course, your great grandfather,
There was a point, right, in my life where I said, I'm getting out of here. Banking's for the birds, right? I'm getting out of here. Because every kid does that, right? Every kid's like, I don't want to do this. Now, I wanted to do it at one point. Like, it's funny. They say it. I've been asked, like, did you always know you were going to be a banker? When I was a kid, they had, like, for an elementary school, they had like, you cut out magazines. Magazines were a thing back then, that they put pictures on paper, sold them. I don't know. I'll tell that to my daughter later. But they said, cut out pictures of what you want to be. And I cut out some guy, I don't know, it looked dressed nice or something. I was like, I'll be a banker just like my grandfather. I grew up with my grandfather, so I was very close. And so I wanted to be a banker when I was a little kid. Then I got older and more rebellious. Like, no, I'm getting out of here. Don't want to do any of that. Went to school. Computers were huge. It was graduated high school in 2001.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
damn.
Ancient
Dude. And so I graduated 2001. My grandmother had the Wall Street Journal. She was pointing at, like, computers were a big deal. I thought I liked computers, right? I grew up in Amherst. Our computers were pretty much glorified typewriters. But I'm like, I like computers. Yeah, I'll go do computers. And so I was thinking about that. Went to Texas Tech University. I'm in the big general business class where they start everybody off and they're bringing the people through that are talking about, this is what it is to be in marketing. They were shooting fireworks, doing coke. Then the accountant came in. He's like, you ought to be an accountant, and his glasses kept slipping, and he walked out of there and got in his Volvo. And then the management guy, he didn't show up. And then the computer lady, who was an absolute nerd, comes in. It's like, well, I'm doing computers. And I thought, I kind of want to do computers. And I asked my cousin. I was living with my cousin my first year. He was an accountant.
Wait, where was this at?
Lubbock, Texas Tech.
Texas Tech.
And
okay, there we go.
And so I'm living with him, and I said, I want to do computers, but they're saying it's hard, and I'm an idiot. So I'm like, I can't do that. And he said, oh, it's all hard. Just do whatever you want. So I said, okay. So I went, I got a bachelor's degree in management information systems. It's the computer major of the business college, right? And so I'm in there with people, like I say, I'm from Amherst, Texas. I thought I knew computers. I'm there with guys who from Dallas, whose dads worked in computers, right? And we had to do programming, and it was awful. It didn't work with me, but I did it. I wasn't going to say no. I wasn't going to back down from it. So I just went through, slugged it through, passed barely with flying barely colors, and got that. Said,
so yeah. So got what was it that?
So that's 05, right? .com bust is happening then.
Yeah, right. So you graduated with a degree in
management information
information.
And there's like .com bust is happening. They're like, man, the internet was a fad, right? Like everybody's fleeing from anything. And I didn't like it anyway. So I'm like, I'll get a master's degree. Go back to school. What do? You go back to school. So I got a master's degree. Getting my MBA was the best, man. Like I went for, and we walked in there and they're like, this is going to be, serious business stuff. And we're doing all this. That was the biggest party of my life. 2 years. Amazing party. Met some great people. Got my MBA. During that, I worked for Johnson & Johnson, one of the biggest corporation, Fortune 50, right? Now, getting an MBA, if it's anything, it's like corporate bureaucrat boot camp. They just talk about how great these big companies are. Well, I went and worked for Johnson & Johnson for like 6 months. I was laying people off, sending jobs overseas, watching, these guys from New Jersey come down and kind of lord over everything, then fly back in their jet. It was gross. And I said, man, I'm not going to do that. And this was like 06. Banking was so hot. I said, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back. I'm going to get in that passenger seat, sliding over to driver's seat of that bank in Amherst, Texas, and we're going to grow that baby.
Yeah.
It was going to be great. And then 08 happened.
Okay.
So about the time I started, boom, everything falls off a cliff. Now, I'll say this. It was not the First National Bank of Amherst or any community bank I'm aware of that caused the '08 financial crisis. However, that seems to be the one the regulators really wanted to go after.
Okay,
So
how so?
it was
Yeah.
interesting. So they're rolling out, man, like banks. Oh, we're having to bail out banks, not ours, but the big ones, the guys with the private jets, right? So they're bailing them out, like, and everybody gets real anti. But back then it was like people were camping out in front of Bank of America, and like, it was occupying. Oh, it was awful. And so here came regulations, right? I think we've got Obama in the White House, and we're ready to get after those evil banks. But boy, those big ones, they've got lots of lawyers and stuff. And so what about these little banks out here? We'll add all these regulations and then go out there and just hammer them. You come into my bank, the same amount of time, they spent the same amount of time regulating my $20 million bank as they did a 20, probably $2 billion bank, right?
No.
Like they come in and sit around for 2 weeks. Hell, you can look at everything we do in 2 weeks. You can nitpick it, do whatever you want. Regulations just step up and the thumb gets harder. You miss one step, they push the thumb harder. Like eventually regulators just put you on a path to they're going to apply as much pressure as possible to make you give up. Like that's pretty much what they do. Giving up being sell the bank. And I was in the safest bank in the country. I'll claim it's the safest bank in the country. Why? We had enough capital. We could have said every loan we've got, you know what? Nobody's going to pay. We give everybody their money back. Give every depositor their money back and some change. Say, take care. Have a good day.
Yeah, isn't that like the problem that we see right now? Is like nobody can give it all back.
Originally, that was the whole point, right? Was like, hey, if everybody wants their money at once, it doesn't exist. Well, we had it. We could have done it. But no, regulators said, you're just not compliant enough. And you know who is? Chase, all those guys, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. Oh, they sure did like them at that time. But so they put a lot of pressure. We eventually sold the bank. So that was the end of the legacy. But went on after that, worked for kind of a smaller, it wasn't smaller than us, but it was a growing bank called AIM Bank. It had started in Littlefield, Texas, which was right down the road from Amherst. That was a county seat of Lamb County, where Amherst, Texas was. And even though times were tough, I'd always send them do well. Like they were, well rated. They seemed to be handling things well.
Yeah. So was AIM Bank like larger than the Amherst Bank in Texas?
Yes,
Is that when they first
start that way? The First National Bank of Littlefield is where they originally started. And I think it was smaller. Like it was maybe a $16 million bank. My numbers are probably wrong, but I think it was a little bit smaller. It was also another little family bank there in Littlefield, Texas, owned by the Lees. And roughly, I could have my facts wrong. But they started there, grew that baby through their network of connections and just sound management. Grew it up. I went to work for them. They just bought a bank in Miami, Texas. And they said, hey, Mike, you like working in a small town. Why don't you go run that bank in Miami for us? And of course, I told them, Stephen, being a sober-minded man, I said, no. I don't even know where that is. North of Amarillo. I thought it was Amarillo, Canada, Antarctica, in that order. Antarctica's even south. See, I was way off. And
yeah, we don't know what's up there. This is Texas.
North of Amarillo? Oh. And so
we don't go there.
So I said, no, I'm not going to do that. Every other opportunity I had. So I had all these. I had an ocean of opportunity. Everyone just like door closed, door closed, door closed. And here I am. I've got a little, like a 2-year-old and a little baby. And wife's at home trying to take care of the babies, and everything's coming to an end. And I'm like, you know what? I'll go to Miami, Texas. I'll do it. I got real positive on Miami, Texas. And loaded up the family, load them up in a U-Haul, left Amherst, Texas, went to Miami, Texas.
Miami. So for people that don't know.
Yeah. You go to Amarillo and you go northeast.
Okay.
You just keep going for about another hour and a half.
Okay. Northeast Amarillo. And then what's the population size of this? So
the whole county had about 900 people because there was 1 square mile for every man, woman, and child in Roberts County. And, I moved up there, didn't know a soul. And that is, everybody said, oh man, the Panhandle, they're cliquish, it's hard to, and so I don't know. I don't know a soul, but I'm just going in, hey, I've got a good job. I'm feeling good about it. And I'm ready just to do what I can. I'm starting fresh. I got those regulators off my back. I'm starting fresh. I'm just here to do the business, take care of the people. And, that ended up being the best thing I ever did. It
Good.
really
You know,
did.
I want to go back. I want to go back just real quick.
Mhm.
What was like the regulators like telling you you're doing wrong at this time?
You
Like,
know, they're
what,
just
what
throwing out rules. You got to think about, I mean, and it exists in the oil industry. Banking's a very heavily regulated business,
Yeah,
very
right.
heavily regulated. And every year they're adding more and more and more. Certain administrations, certain instances, they're adding more and more and more on top of that. And so it just got more than uh, the guy who's handling new accounts, helping with loan documentation, helping with loan decisions, and also trying to figure out how to keep the lights on. Oh, also you need to handle all the compliance. It was more than I could handle. It was more than any of us could handle.
Yeah, so you needed to hire like a whole
Correct.
administrative
And here we are
staff.
already struggling with cash flow, and it's pretty much, oh, you need to spend $1 million on hiring a compliance department. No, I wasn't gonna. We just weren't there. Didn't have the scale. The ability to comply outscaled us. And you know, one of the things they said, oh well, out of that whole industry or out of that whole time was banks are too big to fail. Some of these are too big to fail.
Yeah.
They kind of flipped the script and said, well, in keeping them alive, they made it where we were too small to succeed.
Yeah, isn't that wild, huh? Because you were the ones who had the deposits
Mhm.
to pay everybody out. And, you know, we won't know. I don't think we'll ever know if all the other guys were.
Oh
Uh,
no, uber leveraging,
yeah,
right?
over.
Like I mean, it's like doesn't exist, and they've got the implicit guarantee now of the federal government. So I mean, they they're too big to
Yeah.
fail. Heck, they can really do some wild stuff, and you've seen that since 2008. I mean, you've seen just some wild moves by the big guys, and they'll slap them for big fees, but back then it was just we got too small to succeed. The ability to maintain compliance outscaled what we had, and economic conditions in Amherst weren't. It was an old farming town. There wasn't just enough growth to necessarily scale that up much.
Yeah. So do you think too, like with the bigs there, oh gosh, I don't remember where I was going with that. Was that uh they
They're run by lizard people, Stefan.
Blizzard?
I've said it. I've said it.
Look,
They're going to
look,
take
hey,
us off the air.
let me
He's going to come out. There's going to be a gentleman that's going to come out, and he's going to say, "Guys, we have to. I've been told by people we have to stop."
look, I will tell my business story. A little bit business story, and that was that I had the Wells Fargo. I went into their bankers. It was like I was talking to a robot, and I just instantly knew that the bigs they weren't my kind of
Yeah.
people. It was
It's tough, and I've made that transition myself, or at least watched it in banking to where, what is it that's worth paying attention to a community banker? You're holding the door open for the lady coming in to take $100 out of her Social Security check to the guy that's got $1 million. But when you get into that big, driven, publicly traded banking, you do get to where they just say, hey, it's not at 5 million and above, we'll take a look at you. And then that moves, right? About the time because there's plenty of people like, well, I am 5 million. Well, and then that'll move to 10. Then that'll move to 15 because they're just not going to mess with that. Not going to mess with it. Doesn't work in there.
yeah. There's yeah. They didn't want me, and then I was like, yeah, you're not my people anyway. So yeah, it wasn't made for the small business in oil and gas in West Texas.
The biggest thing I noticed, and I think this is a common topic because there's a lot of situations here in the oil field where something's privately held and then goes publicly traded, right? And the one thing I noticed, I'm in banking, very pure business in my mind. I'm an academic at business, and it's like the thing that surprised me the most. Everything else they said was right. Hey, everybody makes more money, but it's no fun anymore. But what surprised me was there's two things. The first one was the goalpost move. What is considered success? I mean, I thought it's business, it's profit, right? But the goalpost move, all of a sudden, no, it's not profit. It's not good business. I'm not saying it's bad business, but that is not the target. The target is growth. The target is where can we say we're going to be? Will they ever get there? That's not important. And you look at what are some of the most successful publicly traded companies, or companies that never made a profit, like for years, right? Like here, I'm holding you to a gun saying, hey, Stefan, you got to make a profit and you got to take care of your expenses. But then you look at the publicly traded world, no, that doesn't matter. It's about, hey, where can we say we're going to be? And if you can keep that carrot out there and people believe it, that's the goal.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that in college, professor telling me that CEO is not there to be an expert at anything other than maximizing the stock price, period. And boy, you want to talk about that changes leadership and things, doesn't it? From an entrepreneurial perspective of, hey, you're all about your business, to now you've got a guy that it's not about the business at all, not about the mission at all. It's about the only mission is increase stock price.
Man, that hits home so well, because I want to reiterate, like you said, like whenever I go to the smaller banks,
Mhm.
you got not the whole gun in my head, but it's like, hey, we're doing things the correct way. You got to make a profit. It's not a business if you're not making money.
Mhm.
And so, as a small business, we're generating profit. And then I remember many publicly traded companies were going 10 years and just running through money, and it wasn't like you're like, wow, they just do
It's
that.
different rules. It's different rules. It's different goalposts, and
Yeah.
you can't. Normally, you dress for the job you want, right? But you don't. It's just such a different set of rules. That is not the people to watch. And I mean, I'm not saying that I've got a stock portfolio. We like our deals, but suddenly when I was part of it, I'm like, oh, things are way different here. You want the second thing?
Yeah.
Second thing
Yeah.
surprised me the most is, and I had this conversation with a good friend of mine I work with now, and that is, you would think I went to business school, Stefan.
Yeah.
I went to business school, sat around in a room with all these, we're going to be important business people. And you would think, I always thought, so I grew up here. I was in a family business, right? And we were employing people we shouldn't have employed, probably, because we had too much overhead. Like I said, we're growing, the demands and the overhead is growing faster than we could grow cash flow. So we've got too much overhead. We probably should have been cutting staff. We probably should have been cutting features, cutting services. And we never did because, gosh, we weren't going to not take care of our people,
Mhm.
right? But I always in the back of my head thought, man, if I could have just done that, if I could have just cut all the emotion and all the care and concern out of it and just done business, I could have been really successful. But I've seen it. And I've seen when you take people and you turn them into numbers, and you take people and you say, this is all business, and you can pay them more, you can do all sorts of things, and they just don't care anymore. They just don't care. They'll care about them. They'll care about, I mean, you say, hey, this is all pure business. Here's where you need to do it. And this is what pays you the money. They'll get it. But you'll look up and they don't, it's just a snake eats snake. And I told him, I said, I would have thought, given the opportunity, you get cold business and you run it that way and your business is going to succeed. But there is a real factor of taking care of people, that you'll look around and people are working harder for you and you're paying them less, probably, than some big bloated, hey, we're just, this is pure business type publicly traded deal. That surprised me. Like I should be the guy sitting here saying, you always take care of your people and everything's going to work out. But I always, went to business school. It's all business, until I suddenly realized, man, I see people work in a place they feel like they're contributing. They feel like they're heard, and they feel like they're part of the mission. They'll work themselves into the ground for you. And then you put somebody in a, basic, I'm going to use the term cubicle. It doesn't necessarily mean a cubicle, but just put them in a silo. There's the word. Put them in a silo and say, you just grind this wheel. And every month we're going to tell you to grind it harder. There's no way to get that person to perform. There's no way. You can't pay them enough to perform.
That hits very home, and I love that test. I love when you said that, because I haven't seen anything other than that be the truth of the world, right? And so I remember sitting across from a supervisor who was very corporate-esque person, and I would ask him a very like a very honest question about things, and I would call it like turn into the corporate person, and he would just say these things that were like rehearsed.
Mm.
And I was just thought, man, that's not real. That's not real life.
Something not real.
People can't, like, yeah, right. You're not, man. Everything you said of this,
People will play games. People will play games.
yeah, it's like,
when every day is a game at work. that's to me, I wear out on that real fast.
Yeah.
And B, you look up, all you got is game players now. You don't have workers. You
Yeah.
got game players.
And how can that be fulfilling? I always
Oh,
thought
it's
like,
not.
yeah, there's
It's
no,
not.
you gotta like
It's
avoid.
just kind of eventually you just got to be like, hey, I'm going to get my money and cash out of this baby. But I don't know. Like I say, it's not a good environment. But I'm not saying I've ever been there. I'm just saying that's my what I see anyway.
What you see, yeah,
see.
absolutely. No, that's great. And I want to, okay,
So there we go. So do we want to go back to my story?
we're going back to
Let's go back to my story.
that's a pivot here. We're now wait home. We're now in we now live in
Miami, Texas.
Miami,
So let's take
Texas.
I started my career. Amherst, Texas was cotton town. So it was farming, right? Farming. That was about it. There was no oil and gas, no cattle. It was farming. Then I go to the Panhandle. Panhandle was all cattle. There's a little bit of farming, but it's mostly cattle. I got to learn the cattle business. At the time, I show up there and I've got this old banker, great guy. His name was Danny Howard. He was the sickest man I've ever seen keep going. Like he had, the guy was sick, but he was just going to work every day. And I was kind of learning the ropes up there from him. And at that time, cattle prices were higher than they ever been. And I'm thinking of it like the stock market. So I'm like, man, if you've got cattle, why would you not sell them? They're saying it's the highest it's ever been. Sell them all. And he taught me then, well, no. And up here we do cow calf, meaning you've got your cows or your factory and you're making calves and that's your crop. And so there's your yearly cycle and you got to go and you got to replace cows, whether the prices are high or low, and you got to sell those calves where the prices are high and low, because that's what you got. And so I started that. So now I'm in cattle business. Now here's one thing I learned about cattle business. In cotton business, you can't get hungry halfway through the year and go out and pick some cotton and go sell it to a guy and say, hey man, I got some cotton. Cattle, you can totally do that. You can grab cattle walk, cattle die, cattle move around. So that got me into my first introduction to banditry and baking. Really, banditry. I'll call it this. Is that a word? Banditry? I think so. I think so. Look at my 13-year-old daughter. Look at my 13-year-old daughter. She gives me she gives me this look no matter what.
What?
I could have told her we're in Midland, Texas right now. But banditry. So we start working. And so I'm in a little bit of a cleanup mode, right? So I'm going in behind. Everybody else had just jetted out of this bank. And so my goal was to get this sucker cleaned up, right? And so I've got to go, and I run into some deals where you're going out to find cattle and there's no cattle. You're going out to collect cattle, and the cattle, you're not collecting what's supposed to be out there. Like, oh man, you want to talk about tense? That was some interesting. And you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's just you and some cowboys and a couple of cows. Oh man, I'm the banker, That's where I really got the involved banker in things that go bad.
The involved banker, yeah. So I've heard this story before, but we gotta tell the cattle story. We gotta tell the cool.
I'll tell the story.
Okay.
And I don't want to name names. I'm not even gonna name locations, right? But here's the situation. You've got a husband-wife cattle operation. They're borrowing money. You get the FSA involved, right? So you've got FSA, that's Farm Service Agency. It's like a federal arm. It's like an SBA for ag, right? And they're borrowing money from them. They had money from us. I'm just here on cleanup. Like, we're not loaning them anybody. I'm here on cleanup. And so they're going through, and then all of a sudden, husband dies suddenly and mysteriously. Okay. So me and the guy in Pampa, we're calling, well, hey, what's what are we going to do? Are you going to keep operating? No, I think I'm done. Okay, well, I guess we'll, work on collecting. So we go out there and we drive, and it's in the wild country, right? Like far off. We went and looked at some cows. We could see a few cows, calves, things wandering around. So we're like, okay, they're out there, but it's rough country, bushes, shrubs, everything. And, we go out there, and okay, there they are. And so we work out a deal where the cowboys are going to collect them. And the guy that owned the property is like, I'll collect them and do all that. Okay. We're like, okay, good. Yeah, great. And so we go out there for the collection day. Well, one truck shows up. I mean, there's enough cattle for like 4 loads, right? And we're like, I wonder where all the trucks are. And they bring them in, it's morning, the sun's around, here come the cowboys, they're clopping in, and they're driving some cattle. And then they take them in, and a vet's there, and a vet preg checks them, checks see if you're pregnant. And if they're pregnant, he puts them in one pen. And if they're not, he puts them in another. Then at the end, they take all the ones that were not pregnant and load them on the truck. And the guy comes over and says, those are yours. And I go, what? And he goes, here's the deal. He owed me about 3 years worth of lease. He says, here's my numbers. Here's where I figured them. Here's where I took out my lease payment through those cattle, and you can have the rest. I'm sitting there and I go, man, I don't know what they're doing, but should we do something? And the guy, he was my partner up there really, and he was about yay tall, and he said, no, there's more of them than there are of us. We're just gonna get out of here. Oh, okay. So we get out of there, we call up. So what had happened was like bunch of cattle are missing, bunch of cattle. And I always wondered, of course, this is pure speculation, right? Had that eventually come to a head, which it does, right? Because as you wipe out cattle, hey, for all I know, they could have all just died and gone to heaven because the bodies weren't there. But it would have eventually come to a head and they would have eventually gone to prison. But because the guy suddenly died and the wife, I don't know, it's just like, well, it didn't exist. We had to battle it out with the FSA because we said, hey, we need to claim our guarantee, and they don't want to, but they'd done the inspection, so it was a weird deal. In the end, we came out okay, but I always thought, man, it went from going to jail, and then we said, is there any life insurance? No. I don't know if here's a trick, right? Bankruptcy. Oh, bankrupt. Well, bless her heart, she seemed that things were going pretty well. In the bankruptcy filing, $1 million of life insurance.
No
$1 million
way.
of life insurance. And apparently, as long as you don't commingle those funds, you don't like deposit in your checking account, go ahead and start writing checks, you can claim that exempt in bankruptcy.
Oh, I didn't.
So as opposed to going to jail because of an untimely death, ended up being a millionaire.
So what you're speculating is
I don't
that
know that I'm speculating anything. I don't know that I'm speculating anything, but
that,
it's banditry.
it was his time.
Yeah. You got to go. But so that's a wild story. I don't know. We might have to cut that one out. Those people, some of those people still exist, and they could be murderers.
Okay.
Oh, anybody could be. Right.
Anybody
I'm not claiming they are. Anybody could be. I mean, look at your beady eyes.
Yeah. My VDAs. Yeah.
Okay. But that's one. So cattle banditry. Then I took more of a regional role, like a few years into that deal. I think I was in Miami for 4 years. Lived on the prairie, man, like Canadian River ran through there. I was on the fire department, 900 square miles of just beautiful grass that every now and then would try to burn off in like 90-mile-an-hour wind.
Hold on. I think it was the volunteer fire department, not the real.
Call that out. Like,
yeah.
Okay. The fire department. Well, I'll say this: there wasn't any other fire department in Roberts County, so it wasn't like I was the Pee Wee crew, and then you had this buff group of swimsuit wearing, peck blasting pros. No, it was the only one.
Okay,
but was volunteer. I did not receive payment for services, but I was on the fire. It was my first fire department experience, and it was incredible. It was incredible.
Okay.
Jump on the front of that truck. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, that was fun. That was a good time.
Okay. So regional role.
Then I took a regional role. I was over Miami to Shamrock. Canadian was in there too. And they wanted me to move to Shamrock. Lived on the interstate.
Okay. Where's Shamrock at?
Shamrock is east. It's East Amarillo, between Amarillo and Oklahoma City. And so lived there. Was there for about 2 years. Went to COVID there. I was on the fire department there. A lot of great folks in Shamrock. Covered everything from Miami to Shamrock. Missed living on the prairie, but there I got to move into the banker's house. Like, it was a nice house, and it was a good time. I enjoyed my Shamrock experience. Went through COVID there. That was not a bad place to do COVID. Small enough town. We're still doing our thing for the most part.
Yeah. Did it seem like COVID wasn't that big of a deal for the small it just feels like everyone does their thing, and then the whole it's like, oh, all the bigs like are all messing up,
So their thing is the St. Patrick's Day festival. Like, it's the official St. Patrick's Day festival for Texas, in Shamrock, Texas. And so if you look at the timeline, like, places were shutting down before that. I mean, that's what, March something, right? So things were shutting down, and they decided, we're going to go ahead and have this. Now, it had to have been the last great festival of 2020. And it overlapped enough to where we had the toilet paper shortage and the festival at the same time. And so what I did, instead of throwing like candy from the parade, I threw rolls of toilet paper, and it was a huge hit. It was huge. I had like the bank logo down the side, and I was hurling it. There's a perfect picture of me spiraling. People were going nuts for it. It was great. It was a good time. So that's how, like, they were still doing stuff. Eventually, it killed off some things, but it was a good place to ride it out. It was interesting being on the interstate, being on the fire department, because you still had to, be prepared to go out there. You get a wreck on the interstate. And at the time, we didn't know. I mean, I remember at the time we're sitting in the fire hall, smoking's allowed. And we're sitting there in the fire hall. I don't know if I was smoking at the time, but for story purposes. And we're sitting around, and I remember the fire chief, or assistant fire chief, he goes, that virus, this wet market they're saying it came from, it's next to the Wuhan coronavirus lab. And I said, you are just so full of it. Like, no way, man. There is no way they would tell us it came from a wet market when next door there's a coronavirus lab. No way. Conspiracy theory. Some bitch was right.
Now we're back to the.
He's right. Turns out he was right. Like, that's where things started getting topsy-turvy. Like, that guy was right.
Yeah.
Smoking a cigarette. He wasn't smoking. I might not have been smoking. Smoking was happening. I just like to add that to that.
Yeah. So, so you were like, this guy's crazy.
This guy's crazy. And it ended up, no, that's what I remember that moment, because I just remember thinking, that is the most ridiculous. There is no way. And then it turned out that they would not tell us that, right? They totally didn't tell us this. That's wild. But because we still had to be ready to go out there, and we didn't know a whole lot. So it's like, at the time, you think it's melting people like Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? Like, I mean, we don't know how bad this is. They're telling us it's awful, but here we are. We don't even know anybody that's had it yet. Like, they're telling it's awful. So we've got to be ready if a car wrecks on the interstate and they roll out. They're doing that. Like, we're the dudes. Like, CDC people don't come rolling out of white vans. Like, we're the only dudes. We're the only dudes. We're here to help, right? And so we have to do all this. We're getting all the gowns and all the masks and stuff. And most of these guys are, they're we're just a bunch of rednecks. So they're like, I'm not putting on all this stuff. But I'm like, hey, I'm not even afraid of getting it. I'm afraid because at the time it was like, if they claim you were anywhere near somebody, like, you can't do anything for 2 weeks. I was like, I can't skip work for 2 weeks. I got to put on all this crap, go out there and lift somebody up that's coughing and put them in the deal. So it was interesting. I got to do a little bit of first responder work through COVID. And then that's when I got to come to Midland, Texas.
Midland, Texas.
And that was my next stop. So I got to be a Midland, Texas downtown city banker.
Midland,
I had made it, my friend.
You did it. Oil and gas.
Oil and gas. So just like showing up and going, how the heck does this cow thing work? I showed up in Midland, Texas and said, all right, let's figure out oil and gas, right? And the cool thing about Midland, I love Midland. Like, I know so many people, and when I was telling people I'm going to Midland, they're like, oh, Midland, oh my God, you're going there? Oh. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm going to the city, man. They've got like DoorDash and stuff, right? High-speed internet, DoorDash. I'm excited. My daughter, we had said she was kind of down on it and said, hey, there's a trampoline park. Not this one, different one. Oh. And there's a trampoline park. And it was like, oh, okay, I'll go. Okay. She was kind of down on moving until she learned out there was a trampoline park. And moved here. Midland, Texas is the last great vestige of American dream, right?
It is.
It is the last place you can show up, and the ambition of work will get you places.
I get, yeah.
I love it. And so you show up here, man, it is business. It is business time. Everybody's here to do something. It's a great place to show up. I'm a guy that moved places for work, obviously, in my story. It is the most amazing place to show up and be like, hey, I moved here for work. Because guess what everybody else says? Hey, me too. My wife is like, hey, my husband, here she was saying this story again. My husband moved me here for work. And she's around all these women. They're like, yeah, my husband moved me here for work too. Nobody's living next door to grandma. Everybody's here to do something. And it's the last place you can show up and say, I'm here to work. I want to do something, and you'll find success.
And you'll find success.
You'll find success. You want to start a business? I bet you look at like new successful business. Midland, Odessa is got to be just the best place to ever start your own business and actually succeed. I mean,
yeah, like in the last 40, like whatever amount of years, absolutely.
I mean, we don't make anything here anymore. We've gotten rid of so many opportunities for people that just say, "Hey, I want to work hard and I want to be successful." We've got in the
and you're talking about in America.
I'm talking about in America. We've gotten rid of so many of those opportunities. And we've tried to claim that it's because nobody wants that anymore. Nobody wants to work anymore. We're doing it. Come to Midland, Odessa, right? Like, this is where the people come when they say, I want to work and I want to make money. and it doesn't have to look great, and it doesn't have to smell great all the time. But by golly, I'm here to work and make money. And Midland, Odessa offers that, man. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, the opportunity. It's like even me, I feel like it's like the last vessel of like what we read about in the storybooks about like the American dream. It's like it's here and I've lived it myself. So it's like I can see it for myself and then you talk to people from around the country and like they don't like they're trying to figure out
Oh yeah.
other opportunity, but it's like here
There's
it's like
guys.
come here, work your butt off and like and it still
There's
matters.
guys living in their basement that are just like, oh, capitalism is dead, and it's been ruined. The American dream has been ruined, and all rent in San Francisco cost $4,000 a month. It's like, not if you want to work and you come to Midland, Odessa. There is opportunity here,
Yeah.
right? There is. It's just I had a friend when I moved out here. He said, you go to Midland, Odessa, and you can just show up with a broom and say, my business is I sweep dirt off back porches, and I will make you successful.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine right now if you just showed up and said, all I do is I go to back porch. Hey, if you pay me $15 and I sweep your back porch, I bet you'd be busy. I bet you would max your schedule out. You would be looking to hire someone.
Yeah.
And that's a different story. But still, it's a place where you show up and say, I'll do this. Somebody's going to say, all right, let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And it's the most just business friendly environment I've ever been in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the same thing as like when I go out and I try to look for opportunity, it comes here. You go out and you try to make it
It's
happen. It comes.
It's available. And the great thing about it is, part of what's created its cyclical nature, this oil prices up, oil prices down. It's never allowed anybody to dominate the entire market. It really hasn't. You look at banking, where I'm coming in. Any bank that ever could claim, hey, we just pretty much dominate that Midland Odessa market, they went broke because at some point everything fell, boom, not going to work. And the big boys have come in and said, hey, there's a lot of cash moving here. We're going to get a piece of it. They come in, they get whacked on the nose once, they're out. And so for banking, it's a great environment to come in and just say, hey, we're here to do business. We're here to do smart business. Then you just got to find the right guys. I mean, you've got bandits. Okay. When you run through the different times, you got bandits who act like bandits. Those are the bad guys, bad dudes. Everybody knows they're bad. Most people know they're bad dudes. You come from out of town and you don't know what's going on. All of a sudden you'll find out you're great friends with those guys. Like those guys are friendly and you're like, hey, I'm getting along. I wonder why none of the bankers here liked them. That's the bandits who act like bandits. Then there's the good guys who act like good guys. They're great. They're great at business. They're great people. They're probably even good looking, right? Everybody wants to make them. Okay. Now that's a smaller crowd. That's a smaller crowd. Everybody wants to make them. Everybody's going after them. Everybody's taking them out to dinner. But what you really want to find out is the good guys that act like bandits. They go out there, they work, they hustle, they put their nose to the ground. They're good guys, but they're willing to do what it takes to get ahead. Those are cool dudes.
Yeah, and that's for the people that are here. Yeah, and I love that.
That's like the Stephens.
The jack of all trades. Yeah. I'm not gonna tell the stories that I can't tell on camera. But
you'll do what it takes.
You do what it takes
do what it takes. And it is somebody. My favorite story is the one where they stole your backhoe.
Oh yeah, the backhoe story.
Have you told that one?
I haven't told it on the podcast, but I have.
Favorite story.
Yeah,
it's like that's my backhoe.
Yeah, well, I can tell that story real quick.
Tell me. I want to hear it.
Yeah, the backhoe story is our backhoe got stolen, and on my
cops show up.
No, cops don't show up. No,
did you call? They didn't.
We
even
did.
Come,
No, they
call
didn't
them.
come.
They're not even. They're like, okay, why doesn't?
This is what I love about West Texas. Is that nothing against the
no, we love we're law and order people.
Is that we like to consider it kind of the Wild West still, and if you were to steal my backhoe and I was to see it driving down the road, I will go obtain that backhoe again myself, and there will be no repercussions for doing that with force.
Well, and the deal was, it's like it's so cop. I mean, cops. Hey, we love our cops, but hey, their backhoe's getting stolen every day, kid. It's like the Creedence tapes, right? Oh yeah, you got us working in shifts, right?
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, you lost your backhoe, and then you see your backhoe, and then somebody called the cops, right? Said, hey, we see it, and they're like, yeah, I mean, is somebody dying on it right now? No.
No.
What are you gonna do? you're going to get your back.
Yeah, and they're like, and by the way, and all the credit for the police, they're like, well, yeah, get your back up.
Yeah.
We're not gonna
Yeah.
say anything. Like, get your
Yeah,
back
we're
up.
not going to say it's yours. We can't
Yeah.
arrest you for stealing your own stuff.
Yeah.
Like that was just like, but you got it. And to me, that's the difference between, something didn't work right. Well, I guess we just keep on, I don't want to leave the cubicle to, I'm gonna get my back up.
Yeah,
If I have the opportunity to get it back, I'm getting it back.
Like, I gotta pay Mike.
Yeah, you gotta pay
for
me.
this. I gotta pay Mike for this back.
I don't loan backhoes, right? I don't loan backhoes. I loan money. I want money back, not backhoes. So you don't have the backhoe. Doesn't matter. I mean, we're gonna have to have a talk about it, but doesn't matter. I need the backhoe money. But yeah, I don't know. Let's say good guys that can act like bandits. You have to.
I received the text message of your backhoe is probably in Mexico. And I was like, I was not.
That's CSI.
And I'm like,
CSI Midessa. Yow says
and it wasn't.
One in Mexico. It's in Mexico.
It's in West Odessa.
We're tracking it right now. It's outside of Cuauhtémoc in Mexico. Yeah, we'll get it. We got guys on it. They're Black Hawk helicopters.
Yeah. So anyways, it works. Yeah. But it works out. But I love it because then you have the bandits who you keep the bad guys in check like that. And you keep them in check and I think that's how it works for us.
It's the hardest thing we do is you got to identify the good guys, right?
Yeah. Right.
And that's where, you come to me and say, Mike, what do I need to do? Right, to be a better businessman, to get a bank, to be interested. And it's like all we're trying to do is identify the good guys and the bad guys. I think the smaller, more flexible you are, the better you're going to get in, and the more knowledge you have in the market, you're going to be able to determine that. Guys that don't have a lot of knowledge in the market, they're and once they get whacked in the nose, they're just going to, the only way they know how to fix it is slow it down so much and let so many people look at it that it's just nothing's happening at all. And so you need somebody that understands the market, understands what good guys look like, bad guys look like. How do we do that? Well, a lot of it is we're looking at books, right? And there's a lot of guys starting their business that are like, books. I don't, I'm not, that sounds like, that's a big word, right? But it's important, and it goes both ways. Sometimes if people think, hey, my bankers beat me up, want me to keep all these, you need to know how much money you're making. You need to know where your money's going. And the oil field can sometimes hide some sins in that you can make enough money. And this is one thing I think we've exited this era of oil field where there was a time where you could make enough money. I don't know where it's all going, but I'm making tons of it, right? And people are, I might be stealing some of your stuff, and you might be spending more money over here than you should, but you're just making so much, it doesn't matter. And what I saw in my time here in Midland is it's to a point now where you got to know where you're making money, where you're losing money. And when you can do that and say, here's where I'm making money, here's where I'm losing money, I got to get rid of that. You run it like that, then you can take it to a bank, say, look, I'm running my business. Makes a banker feel great when he feels like you have a good grasp on your business. It's not just a money bag that you're just reaching into when you need it. It's a well-organized machine, right? That's what makes a bank feel comfortable. And then transferring over to tax returns. So you've got your good books, that makes for good tax returns. An oil field, like we'll call them a patch accountant, is like a barracks lawyer, right? There's going to be some guy that is not an accountant. It's not an accountant at all. That's going to be like, oh man, let me tell you how to save some money on taxes, right? And it's going to be like, don't do this, do all this. Look, my taxes say I lost $100,000 last year. Well, here's the problem. When you go to a bank, say, hey, I want to borrow some money. And we go, well, can you pay it back? Of course. Well, let me see how you've been doing so I can determine whether or not you can pay it back. You're not making any money. Well, I don't want to pay taxes. And there's a fine line between that, right? Like we all want to make sure we write off everything. We all want to make sure we account for everything. I told you a long time ago, I don't account depreciation. It's good for you. Doesn't affect me at all. I take depreciation out. That is not real cash leaving. Government considers it. Government considers depreciation as cash leaving your pocket. I don't, because that doesn't. And so, I add all that back in. And so you want to make sure that the books are good. The books go to good tax returns. He paints a picture for a banker that says, all right, this is somebody that can handle some growth. And sometimes it takes that leap. You want to go to the next level. I got to pay an accountant more, right? Like I got to get where my books are moving in the right place.
Yeah.
And the hardest thing you can do as an entrepreneur, you're an expert at what you're doing, right? You're not a business running expert. You're not an accountant. you're an expert at doing what you do. Oilfields full of that. I'm a frack expert. I'm a water hauler expert. I'm an equipment rental expert. Okay, that's great. And you could start a business and you can make money. How do you take it to the next level? You got to become a business expert.
Yeah.
And that's not as much fun.
Yeah, no, no, it's not as much fun as just being the expert in the whole thing. Yeah, we had to learn that. So you came to Midland,
Yep.
and then
It's a great time.
that was what we just elaborated on Midland Tech, Midland Odessa.
Oh,
It is great. It is a great place to live.
I loved it. We family did good here. The girls were in a great school. They were Midland Classical. We were going to Stonegate, big church, but packed, man. Like it's so much that feeds into itself. The idea of I'm here. Why'd you come to Midland? I came here to improve myself, right? I came here to improve my standing. If I didn't care about that, I could be pulling a plow in Amherst, Texas. But no, I want to improve myself. I ended up in Midland or wherever our little towns people come from, and want to improve myself. Well, that goes to the next step. I want to improve. I want to improve my bank account. Yeah, well, I want to improve who I am as a person too.
Mm.
I mean, I want to improve. I want to improve my faith. I want to. I'm here to make myself better. That's why we're in Midland, right? And that goes from it's mind, body, spirit. The gyms are packed. And the churches are packed because hey, once you get that, you got to fill out the package, right? And it's just amazing that's the drive. And I've moved since to more retirement focused deal. There's not a lot of drive for that. It's a lot more just, hey, we just want it, nothing to change. Whereas Midland is get out of my way, right? Let's do this.
Yeah.
And mind, body, spirit. Let's go to church on Sunday and let's go to work on Monday. I mean, wow, what a cool. And I'm not even saying it. Some people look at that and say, oh, it's like a Christian thing. I mean, I'm a Christian. I believe I'm only able to enter the kingdom of heaven through the grace of Jesus Christ dead on the cross for me. But there's something about that. I'm here to work hard that people go to the next step. And the biggest thing, I went into a lot of Bible studies where guys have been very successful. And they said, I chased that my whole life and I got it. And I realized that wasn't it.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about a place to learn that in Midland, Texas? Midland, Texas was, I thought, this big bougie, we're not, everybody's just self-centered and all, like it's just a bunch of people up their own butts, right? Just chasing the almighty dollar. But what you found is, it's people that were chasing the dollar. It's people that caught it. It's people that realized that wasn't it. Went to church, find out that's where it's at. Then look at their family and go, I got to be doing better here too. And I ran into so many guys that were trying to be better Christians, trying to be better fathers, trying to be better husbands. Mm-hmm. And there are plenty of guys that wiped out too. I mean, they were there. I saw tough dudes saying, yeah, I messed up that first marriage.
Mm-hmm.
You don't ever hear that. You don't hear that in a bar, do you? Like that first wife, man. Whoa, no. But there were guys saying, I messed it up. That was me, and I don't want to do that again. And I mean, to me, that's the biggest magic of what my experience in Midland.
Yeah, right. So, you even told me, and I always liked that. What you said is like we go to. Because even from the outside, and I think that as people that we say, well, church is this place of like where these people are all judging, and I'm like, and it's like, no, not in Midland. It's like we all there because we're sinners.
Yeah,
like that's why we're all there. Like we all know that we're all kind of messed up, and we're just trying to do a little better.
You're 100% right, and I think maybe in some older, lighter attended, we've just been doing this for 50 years because this is what we do. Maybe you can get that feel, but you're 100% correct. That can be what's the stereotype, right? Oh, it's a bunch of people judging and all think they're better than us. Oh no, not at the church here, not the church I went to. A lot of people went to that one.
Yeah.
And a lot of people volunteered. And a lot of people, what's the next step? I mean, you and I ended up going to the same church. It's like, we end up going to camp and we're like helping kids and stuff like that. It's like, that isn't, I wasn't doing that. I didn't wake up and say, hey, I need to get out and like help kids. I was in a class with, what was it, like third grade boys, man. That ain't me. Yeah. I'm not good at that. But I just said, you know what I said? I said, well, where do you need somebody? Oh, we need somebody there. Okay. But, but that was all part of the, hey, what do I do better? What do I do better? Find something that made me uncomfortable that did good and just jump into it. Yeah. Right. That was one of my biggest takeaways of Midland too, was And that, I don't know, that's what got me in the fire department. That's what got me the best experiences of my life.
Hmm.
Moving to Miami, joining the fire department, building my faith. It was all find something that makes me a little uncomfortable, but I know it's good, that I know there's a need for, right? They had like a special needs prom. That sounded like the most uncomfortable thing in my life,
And it
to
was
be responsible for a special needs person for hours, right? Like, most uncomfortable thing. I didn't grow up. I went to business school. I wasn't a touchy-feely guy. I was the oldest son of two kids. Like, I'm not of two boys. Like, I'm not the when I got married, my wife's family was like, this guy doesn't even he doesn't even want to have kids. Like, what's going to happen? I had kids, but uh, I adopted children. I adopted two kids at a bus station. They broke my heart. The money changed hands. But no, I had kids. I had kids eventually. But I'm not the guy. I'm not that guy. But I knew that. But there's a need. Now,
Mhm.
I've got people telling me, hey, there's a need here, and there's nobody's going to come in and save the day. And it's like, all right. And so I got where I just thought, if it's a good thing, if it's to do good, and there's a need,
Yeah.
and it makes me uncomfortable, dive.
I just go, yeah,
Dive in.
yeah,
And it's true. It's best stuff I've ever done in my whole life.
yeah. Very
Came from
fulfilling.
that place.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, came from that place. Yeah, I mean, say I could have sat at home, I could have locked the door, but and Midland brought out a lot of that out of me, just because, like I say, it's everybody's iron sharpening iron all across the city, man. I mean, whether it's business, whether it's through your faith, whether it's through being a better father. You step out in this town, you say, I want to do that. People lift you up. You know what I mean? And there's all sorts of guys. One thing about this entrepreneurial environment is there's all sorts of guys ready to lift you up. Like, hey, and prove to you that they didn't do it right.
Yeah.
Right. Let me tell you how, I mean, I didn't do it right, but let me tell you what I should have done. And it's that environment. It's certainly not the corporate, here's a pamphlet, right? And a 1-800 number. No, there's people that'll take you under their wing. There's people that'll help you.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That is, man, so many good things. That's why I love Midland. And
Yeah.
then everyone complains about the way it look, the environment, the actual,
does
I'm
look-
sorry,
It looks bad. It looks bad. Flames do shoot from the ground here. I think less than they used to. I think we're
less.
working on that. I think
We
we're
are
working
working on that.
But yeah, it's a little tough. When I moved out here, I was kind of a country boy, so people are like, "Well, you're going to try to get a place in the country?" I said, "No, I do not want to step on my porch and look at the Permian and sip coffee." I lived in a lovely neighborhood. I had curb streets. It looked like any other neighborhood in America. Right, nice folks, green yard, size of this table. It was great, but it's different. Yeah, it doesn't smell good all the time. Doesn't look good. But it makes for quality people, doesn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The human experience is probably the best I've ever seen here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's great. I mean, it's conservative, right? Like to me, it's the most conservative, larger city you'll probably ever get into.
Yeah.
But it's just part of that work mentality, man. We're here to work and make things happen.
Yeah.
So.
And then, so you're banking in Midlands. You came to tell us about the.
I was a banker. I was a downtown banker. I did more big business there. And it wasn't a bad experience. I mean, it was, I enjoyed my city experience. Like I say, I enjoyed living in the city. I enjoyed the people I was meeting. Ultimately though, I had to make the decision that I wanted to get back to a place where I felt like I was making a difference. I wanted to get back to a place where, it's important to me who I work for.
Mhm.
It's important to me.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go back. So what happened? Can you the
It was a deal where I'd put my time in, and I'd done what I said I'd do. I had 3 years to work, and I did, and I gave it. I sent it. They said, "Hey, here's the silly stuff to do." I did it, and I think I was successful there. I think I was successful. It was just I finally had enough. I just finally had enough, and I said. There were certainly appealing things, most of the monetary, but it was kind of like, hey, do you want this? And it just wasn't for me. And it mattered who I worked for. And it's kind of like this happens in the oil and gas deal, where you got a group of guys that come together, a group of guys, girls, whatever, come together and really make something. And they can sell it, and they move it. But then it seems like those guys seem to come back together. And I found a good group of people, leaders, everything from the leaders to the backroom workers, right? That were all mission focused, that were a good group of people. And I said, I want to be a part of that. And I've never had a whole lot of choice in where that would send me, right? Like, I mean, I was at Amherst, Texas, and I said no. And then all of a sudden I'm in Miami, Texas, and it ended up being the best thing I ever did. So I've never had a lot of choice in where that journey would send, but I said, I want to work with good people. I want to work with people that I believe in and people that I know can run things and run them well. And I want to learn. I want to work for people I can learn from and be better every day. And that's where I ended up. And that meant I had to pull up stakes for my beloved Midland, because the need was in the Big Bend region,
Big Bend.
going to the frontier, my friend. And so, pulled up stakes one more time, and the family moved with me. Thank God for that, right? Because that's all my strength comes from that. And moved to the Big Bend region. So now I'm in Alpine. I covered 12,000 square miles of Texas,
Yes.
wild country Texas. I'm the Big Bend regional president for Maverick Bank, and that covers Alpine, Texas, Fort Davis, Texas, Presidio, Texas, all the other unbanked towns between Valentine, Texas. I'm the premier banker in Valentine, Texas,
Premier
because
banker.
it's Jeff Davis County. And so Marathon, Texas, all these places that I think are kind of storied here in the Permian, because they're places everybody kind of likes to go. It's unique. It's kind of our closest getaway here in the Permian. And so it's a wild country. I think it's kind of the last frontier, man, because kind of like how Midland and Odessa, nobody's coming here unless they're doing things. Nobody's going out there unless you want to be out there, because it's not on the way to anything. It's hard to get to anything. And so I'm a small town guy, but that's moving out there, right?
Yeah.
Like Miami was, hey, little town, only town in the whole county. I thought, but heck, I surrounded north of Kansas, wasn't that far, right? But I'm down on the frontier now, and and it's kind of interesting. I'm going back to my roots in that I'm taking a family bank. This was before Maverick came in, a family bank. And I know a lot of people down there, hey, we want it to go back the way it was, or we want, I remember the old days, or, Mike's coming from the bigger bank, right? But it's kind of like going back in that I'm going back to that family bank, and I'm trying. My goal there is, yeah, we're bigger and we're growing. We're going to grow. You want to be a part of a growing bank, by the way. If you have the opportunity, you want to be in the growing one, not the stale or declining one. And so my job is to go in there and say, hey, yeah, it's not family. I come from family, and I know the challenges of that. And I know how you get the right group of people. We've got the right compliance people. You get the right back office people. You get the right technology that you just can't quite get at a smaller level. But we're also a group that cares. So we want to do the right thing for the community. We want to grow. I want to be successful there. I'm going into a small town not to retire. I'm going into a small town not because that's the small town I wanted to be at. I never had that opportunity to say that. The one time I did say that,
Yeah.
it didn't work out, right? And but I'm here to make this a success, because we're still in that goalposts of good business is good business, profit's profit, right? And if we can make these banks, even if they're on the frontier, if we can make them successful, that's what we're here to do. And so that's my goal. And it's kind of neat. Like I say, it's coming full circle, and it's giving me the opportunity to say, hey, I've learned so much now. If I would have known, right? So here I am 20 years into my career. I'm back. No, it's not family bank anymore. We're coming in, we're growing, but I'm taking those folks, I'm taking those markets, and I'm saying, hey, let's get successful.
Yeah.
Let's take it in. And I'm not saying it wasn't earlier. It's just, hey, we gotta move it, because like I told you, it's a game of survival, man. It's a game of survival. You got to grow and be successful, because you never know what that next wallop's going to be. It's what you deal with in the wool field, right? If you're making just enough to pay bills today, get out of the wool field.
Yeah,
Go get a
right.
job. Go work for the postal service, man, because they'll pay you and you can pay your bills, and that's it. You got to be successful today and successful enough to ride out tomorrow.
Right.
In the same way in banking, I'm taking that wolf mentality down there, just to say, hey, no, it's not enough that we pay the bills today. We got to grow, and we got to be successful enough that what that next thing is. It might not be down there. It's not oil, because we're not riding the oil prices. But what about COVID? What about interest rate? What about all this tariff stuff? What's the next big thing hurdle going to be in banking? And you yawned on me. Am I
No,
talking
no,
too
no,
much
no,
about
no,
banking?
no,
Too much about
no.
banking? I need to get back to the lizard people.
The lizard people. No, no, no. Go ahead.
But that's what I want to take down there. Is we're here to survive, and the only way you survive is you got to be thriving, baby.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be, because like it's an oil field, man. If you're making enough to pay bills, get out,
So-
sell it, and get out.
So Mike is in Big Bend now.
That's true.
Maverick Bank. We'll plug Maverick Bank.
Maverick
on
Bank,
this.
it's a growing bank. I'm in the original Fort Davis State Bank is where it started. And so that's the original footprint, which is the Big Bend region, right? And we're growing. We're adding branches. We've got one in Odessa now. Great people in Odessa, people I've worked with before. Where I'm going tomorrow to the grand opening for the Snyder location. Great people I've worked with in Snyder. We're in Levelland, which is kind of getting close to my old time. I used to sneak over to Levelland to go to the bowling alley in high school when I was growing up in Amherst. Lubbock. That's where we're going, and we're growing, and we're going back into a good, comfortable, going back into places where we know people, and we're going into places we don't know people, and making new friends, and it's exciting.
Good.
And you want to be there. Like I say, I want to be where it's growing. I want to be where every day is a new opportunity.
Okay.
And so that's why I came here.
So the future. Let's move to the future here.
Future, there's a lot of opportunity. The Big Bend is such a beautiful place, right? And there's so much outside influence. There's the opposite of Midland, Odessa. Like, people come here to work there. They're coming from all over to not work. So you got a lot of retirement. There's a lot of wealth there, but that wealth is still tied to way up there where, so a lot of people are doing business with places they never see, never care. And so I got to be enough of a community guy to show, hey, we're here we support the town. We support the community. Please support me through your patronage. And so that's the next battle for me personally. For the bank, it's grow, baby, grow. I think it's a wonderful environment right now for banking. I think you've got a lot of bigger banks that are uncertain, and when your decisions are coming from way, way, way far off, and dare I say Wall Street, eventually, those decisions don't translate into the business you do every day. They just don't. And so I think it's but there's a lot of that right now. And so I think it's a great environment to find the right people and to make business deals that make sense. And that seems to be something once you get all the zeros and everybody's flying and some things stop making sense, but you're supposed to just keep going anyway. We want things to make sense. And so you've got the right people in the right position. And I think it's a great time to really make something happen in banking, make something happen for small business.
Okay, good. We'll wrap that up there. Reach out to me if you guys want to, if anybody watches this and is in West Texas and wants to talk to Mike, small business banking.
That's
Maverick
true.
Bank.
If you're coming through the Big Bend, hey, we need to go to lunch in Ohinaka.
Yeah,
we do.
absolutely.
We do.
And I'll tell I've met personally. I've know 4 different people. I've met and talked to 4 different people from Maverick Bank over the years of the 7-year career that I've had in my business. And it's the realest people I've ever met. And so I enjoy the people that work for Maverick a lot.
I was supposed to wear my suit. You were supposed to, didn't I tell you to wear a tie?
Yeah,
I think, but
we didn't.
I came in a little more real. This is more what you'll see me look like on the daily there in Alpine or Fort Davis or Presidio, depending on where I'm at that day.
So yeah. With that being said, let's wrap this.
Thank you so much for
it was
great to see you again.
You too, man.
We need to hang out sometime.
I know.
We need to do something.
Yeah. Okay, we'll wrap this up. Thanks, man.